Hello. We're going to look at Thursday's lecture and 5 different groupings. This one is about the team history assignment. Now, what I'm going to show you is first where to find the assignment guidelines, and then talk a little bit about how your team can break up the assignment to make it manageable. So let's go to the assignment guidelines in the course portal. If you scroll down, you'll see the history team project. And I'm going to click on this document that not only has your theorists that's assigned to each group, but also the basic guidelines. As you can see, the theorists that we'll be studying are broken into 4 different approaches: classical, behavioral, quantitative, and contemporary. And what you'll find out throughout the course is that this is kind of an approach that we'll take when we even look at motivation and also leadership theories. These theories are kind of broken into different time periods, and a lot of it's based on what was going on in society, but also kind of based on the central ideas of the theorists as they were studying during a certain time frame. We have our team assignments here, and for those who are doing Team 4, Max Weber, it's not Weber, it's Weber. I want you to go ahead and reach out to me before you do some research. I can quick talk with you about Weber's theory, just because he looked at a lot of different things. I want to make sure that you are looking at the specific components of management theory that we'll be talking about in class. And really this kind of goes for every team. These individuals worked in a lot of different areas. They had a lot of different ideas. And so what's going to happen is that, for instance, Frederick Taylor or Frank and Lillian Gilbreth, you'll find that they have a lot of interests. And so one of the challenges is to make sure that the focus that you are going to profile for this class is really related to how it's improved organizations. And so what you'll find is that many, after they studied organizations and management, later on they wrote books about philosophy, or they might have written a book about how they believed society should be, maybe utopian. That's interesting and definitely an important commitment to our literature base, but it's not really what we're going to profile in our management class. And so look for the things that would really help organizations be more productive. So let's look down here on the parts of the assignment. And before I go through this, sometimes it helps if we look at a visual on what is the final product going to look like. So if we go back over here into our assignment guidelines, we will see here a couple of examples of history student assignment projects that are completed. And anytime I put an assignment out that's an A assignment or a B assignment, it's kind of hard because as a faculty member, you know what you're looking for. As a student, you might think, is it the A because of the bullets, or is it because of the length of it? No, it's really based on each section. Did the team address that section appropriately for it? Whether you put it in a paragraph or you put it in bullets, it's up to the team's decision. I will say a lot of people enjoy bullets because it takes a lot of information and you can quickly look through it. Then instead of reading a paragraph, and with a paragraph, then you have to make sure that you work on your grammar and the flow of the paragraph, and so sometimes bullets is a little easier approach for it. So we have our focus, we have our method of study, major findings, management and workers POV, which stands for point of view, and then application. And here below we have our references for it in APA formatting. At the top we have the team name. I have assigned a team number. This team chose a team name, and then the date of which the assignment is due. And I'm not too sure why they put that there. Oh, I know exactly what it is. It is the actual team members' names. So the name of the team, and then the team members' names are listed here for it. So let's go back. Now that we've seen kind of a final project, we can see that we have the focus, method of study, major findings, point of views, and application. So let's talk briefly about each of these areas. As I indicated, these theorists have a lot of things they looked at throughout their lifespan. So the focus is what we're going to stick to management and how they've improved organizations. And so here you would address just those items. Even though you'll find a lot more, let's pare that down to just related to organizations. The method of study is really kind of interesting because while some launched what we'd call scientific experiments, others used observation. Still others were part of organizations and they just were kind of frustrated about the inefficiencies, the laziness. And so they just gathered information from the organization they work for. So that's how the researchers studied their topic. The major findings is what they found from their research or their observations or a simple data gathering for it. Now I'm going to stop right here and talk about where an A paper and a B assignment, where they differ. You want the focus, the method, and the findings all be about the same thing. So if I'm focusing on ergonomics, then the method of study should be that they how they gather data to look at ergonomics. And then their findings are based on what they found from their data on the topic of ergonomics. Sometimes what students do is they do a focus of ergonomics and then they do a method of study and they do observations of something completely different. And then their findings may not actually tie those two together. So why did they do that? Well, it's because when we talk about how we're going to divide and conquer the work, so they divided the work, but people were researching and looking at different websites and finding different focuses. There wasn't any time that the team came together and said, what exactly are we going to focus on? The manager and worker's point of view, a lot of times students look online to see, point of view managers and theorists. What I'm really asking here is that as you find out and read about the focus study and findings, put yourself in the position of a worker during that time, and you've heard about these findings from this theorist, and it potentially will change the environment of your job. Would you be for or against it? How would you view these new ideas that possibly your managers might want you to implement? Same thing as a manager. You have someone from the outside coming in and telling you about how to maybe reconfigure your manufacturing line. How are you going to view this work? Are you going to accept it, or are you going to be defensive about it? And so you have to kind of think about who's going to benefit from this, who might be doing extra work, and take that view. And then what you can do is hypothesize. This is what I think would be. And then in this given situation, possibly some of these theorists might help an automobile plant be more productive. But would that really work for maybe a small convenience type store or a small mercantile store at that time for it? And so hypothetically, you can make these assumptions and state what you believe would be how their theories would be accepted during that time. Same thing we look at application. Well, what we'll find out is that these theorists' works and findings are very relevant today. And in fact, what I told the class is that in previous classes, you hopefully will come to the conclusion that we already know many of these problems exist. People have been pointing these problems out and observing them throughout past 70 plus years. So the question is that why are we not beyond these problems? Why haven't we appropriately addressed some of these issues? Some of these organizations are really, some of their processes and procedures are rooted in these theorists. So you can try a Google search and say maybe Frederick Taylor and business application, or you can say Mary Parker Follett, contemporary businesses. And you may find specific organizations that are really indicating that their processes and procedures are rooted in a specific theorist. Or what you can do is use a hypothetical example. You might see and learn about some theorist idea, and then think about possibly some businesses that you visited how they probably are implementing some of these ideas. And therefore, it's a hypothetical example. You might say, hypothetically, in a workplace setting, in a healthcare industry, they might implement these ideas to improve their productivity, and then state specifically the ideas that are from your theorists and how that might help that industry be more productive. Now, how do you go about this? Well, this is my recommendation. Even before COVID, I asked students not to meet, to use their online resources, to use Google Docs or any type of online programs that you can share, SharePoint. And what you need to do is divide and conquer. You have 3 members on your team. You have 5 areas to address. You can divide and conquer, assign areas, but once again, as I indicated, you want to make sure that you are doing a check, that you are looking at the same research or the same ideas for these theorists, since they are so prolific and they have many ideas. You also need someone that's going to pull everything together and then do that second look. Is the focus, is this the study? That how they measured the focus, how they examined it, are these findings related to that focus for it? You also need someone who can look at these example documents and then look at your document and decide, are we writing to that style? Does our document look like the examples for it in the layout for it? Do I have the appropriate APA heading? Have we used the appropriate format for our references for it? Also, what you need to do, as you see down here, you need to create a 6-slide PowerPoint. And you're going to highlight the main points from each section above. Basically, you have a title slide and 5 sections. One member is going to present to the class. And so while this is due, I changed the schedule from Sunday to Monday at 10 p.m. We will start presenting on Tuesday. And we'll present on Thursday. We're going to go in order. So even if you are not in class, you will need to present through remote. So one person will need to be able to feel comfortable presenting in that remote environment for it. What I'm going to do is take all these theorist write-ups and I'm going to create a packet. And so each student in the class will have the packet of all the theorists. So keep this in mind as you're presenting. When you're creating slides of focus and maybe you have about 60 words under the focus section, obviously you can't put that on the slide. You need to pull out the main points. And as someone has this document, they can highlight as they go the main points that you are stating that someone needs to look at. We do this in the business world. Somebody presents a document, highlights the main parts. The person has that document for later reference and they can read through more to their liking for it. As a faculty member, what I'm going to do is be listening to your presentation and what are the main points. I'm highlighting my document, and that's the way that I'm going to take exam questions off. You, the researcher, and the team who have decided that this is the key point, the takeaway points we need from this theorist. Those points I'll use to write the questions for our first exam. Please check the course portal to find out when you need to upload the document. What we have here under coursework, I have pulled down here, History of Management Summary. I changed the date to Monday. It was originally Sunday in your schedule of classes. There's one key thing you need to see here. Each student in the group will upload the same document. You don't change it just for your name. It's the complete document. Also, one student who is going to present it will also upload that PowerPoint presentation into their portal. So keep in mind, a couple of things you have to think here. If everybody needs a copy of that, you have to figure out your timeline to give people that time to have that document to load up in their portal. Also, whoever is going to be doing the draft of the PowerPoint presentation and who's going to be reviewing it, they need to have that document completed before, or at least close to completion, before they can complete all those slides. So it's a little bit of a time management assignment. Also exploring a specific theorist, someone will be presenting, and everyone will have an important role. So divide and conquer.